Good afternoon. You're listening to This Week with Ron and John. I'm John Griffin.
And I'm Ron Meyer.
Folks, today we are going to pull back the curtain on the cancer of government corruption and tell you what President Trump is doing about it. I'll give you a big hint. It involves a swamp, a big, beautiful drain, and 30,000 sealed VIP indictments. More on that bombshell at the bottom of the hour. Then we'll talk with Texas rancher John Yearwood about the fight to keep his ranch. He's had it since 1871. A federal agency declared it an endangered spider's habitat, folks. And later this half hour, we'll talk to Scott Holman. Scott's chairman of the Frost Foundation, a charitable organization, and CEO of Eden International Group. Scott is a financial advisor to royalty and heads of state. Scott will tell us how bad it really was in 2016, how close we were to becoming the next Venezuela. Ron, it's all yours. Do we have our first guest?
Our first guest today is going to be Mr. John Yearwood. Mr. Yearwood's a native Texan rancher, businessman, and veteran of the Vietnam War, where he was a combat helicopter pilot. And as a veteran, I'd like to take a second to thank you for your service, Mr. Yearwood.
Yes. Serving in the Army was certainly my honor.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you. Can you kind of give us an update and tell us about your battle with U.S. Fish and Wildlife and what you think their authority is to effectively seize your land?
The history of this is over the Bone Cave harvestman. And the Bone Cave harvestman was just discovered in 1988. It was only in 2 caves at that time. It's 1/10 of an inch long. It's very sensitive to humidity, temperature, and everything else. It's just a real basket case. In Williamson County alone, it's in 178 caves. So obviously, it's really not endangered.
That doesn't sound endangered to me.
If it has caves, why does it need your ranch,
Well, you can hardly call these things caves. They're really kind of cracks in the ground.
Yeah.
They wouldn't serve for a condominium for 2 armadillos, I don't think. But,
Good thing there's spiders then.
So what authority is the U.S. Fish and Wildlife claiming to use to, tell you can't use 35 acres of your 800-plus acre property?
It's the Endangered Species Act. And the Endangered Species Act was taken out of the Commerce Clause in the U.S. Constitution. Endangered species, as the Bone Cave harvestman is, has no economic value. It cannot be transported across state lines. We don't think the Bone Cave harvestman itself is endangered, and also the Endangered Species Act, I think, is unconstitutional because the Commerce Clause was basically meant to limit or restrain state powers. It's really unconstitutional to take my property.
Well, and it certainly does sound like they're abusing their power, applying the Commerce Clause to this particular situation, and I'm sure many others.
The Fifth Amendment says you can't take property without just compensation. And the 14th Amendment talks about, equal protection under the law.
You've hit the nail on the head with the unconstitutional thing. What's more shocking, though, is that the Bureau of Land Management says that, quote, human beings are a resource for the purposes of ecosystem management, unquote. That's BLM 1994.
It comes at a good time. When's Trump going to announce the new Supreme Court justice?
Tomorrow night around 9 p.m., everybody's reporting.
I think it'll be someone that I like.
Well, I think it's going to be somebody that we all like. What sort of support have you been receiving from any state, federal, officials or organizations in your fight with U.S. Fish and Wildlife?
Well, the Texas Public Policy, I'm going to give a little shout out here, the Texas Public Policy Forum, and also the American Stewards of Liberty, a property rights thing, have joined me in this. Williamson County Commissioner's Court signed on to it. And then Ken Paxton, the Attorney General.
Well, we feel very much for you. You're a human being, an American citizen, and your land should not have been seized from a spider that apparently is not an endangered species. We're getting set for a break, Mr. Yearwood, but we'd like to have your final thoughts.
Basically, the Constitution is what made this country great, and the Constitution is being violated here. I and my family are being made to run a federal wildlife reserve for this bug at our expense.
Look forward to, hearing updates on the progress of your case.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate what you guys do. Sounds great.
Well, stay tuned. We're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back with Ron and John.